It is a wonderful time to be a sports fan right now because right now you've got the Stanley Cup playoff picture starting to take place with heated matchups and teams pushing for playoff spots. You have MLB and its spring training, meaning baseball is right around the corner. You've got NCAA tournaments coming out for their national championships in both hockey and basketball. It is a fantastic time to be a sports fan right now. And with it being March and with tomorrow being St. Patrick's Day, I had a couple of ideas for this video. The initial idea was I was going to rank all of the NHL teams that currently have a green jersey, obviously playing into the St. Patrick's Day theme. But as I was looking through all the NHL teams, there was one team that stood out to me that feels like they need a little bit of a pick me up video. And that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you are unfamiliar with the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they do around St. Patrick's Day, is they typically honor the Toronto St. Pats, who obviously came before the Maple Leafs were the Maple Leafs. And they honor those teams by wearing throwback replica style jerseys. Now, there are only three jerseys in this list, and I ranked them from three to one, one obviously being my favorite one. Now, obviously, some of them do span over multiple seasons, so that is why I'm not ranking them from every single season, because that would just take way too long. So I did just kind of clump some together, mainly because they are relatively the same jersey. So let's get started with this list. At number three, I've got the current version of their St. Pat's jersey, which started in 2024 and still currently goes on to this day. Now, this was the first time that we saw Toronto really kind of mess around with the St. Pat's jersey. Instead of doing the traditional, just pretty much full on carbon copy replica of what the St. Pat's wore, Toronto wanted to take a little bit of a modern twist with this new design. The biggest differences being modern numbers on the back and sleeves and a brand new logo on the front. Now, the reason why it is number three on this list is because of that front logo. While I don't absolutely hate that St. Pat's logo, I think it's an okay logo. However, I don't think it works on this design of jersey. With the green stripe going across the chest like that, I don't know. It looks really out of place to me. And this jersey is still very, very similar style-wise to what they did wear previously before making this new modern switch. But the logo on the front, again, I just don't think it necessarily works the best with that design and that green stripe going across the chest. The all white collar, I think, is okay in some scenarios, but with this scenario, it just kind of makes it look a little bit empty feeling. Now, I will say, the green helmet does kind of help balance that out a little bit more, but in terms of just looking at the jersey, I just feel like the all white collar, especially without having anything on the shoulders or anything like that, I feel like it just makes it look a little bit empty. I would have been okay even if they just went with green laces. Just having a little bit of extra color up near the collar of the jersey, I think, would have made it just look a little bit better, in my opinion. So while this jersey isn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, I feel like just a couple little tweaks here and there, I feel like this jersey could have been a little bit higher on this list. Mainly that logo being on the front. Again, logo is fine. I just would have went with a different design for the jersey. At number two, I've got the 2002 Toronto St. Pat's style jersey, which was a replica of their 1926-27 jersey, which was the first time that Toronto brought back the St. Pat's jersey. Now, I am traditionally a bigger fan of the darker versions of a jersey, so that is why this one is where it is. But the striping, I think, is fantastic. I think the colors are fantastic. The Toronto St. Pat's kind of in the white stripe across the chest gets lost a little bit, but I can get past that because I just love the subtle little like white stroke around the big white stripe going across the chest. I think it all looks absolutely fantastic. Where this jersey falls off for me is the brown gear that went along with it, the brown helmet, the brown pants, the brown gloves. I understand what they were trying to do and trying to give it that old leather gear feeling. However, I feel like the shade of brown is just really, really dark. Had they have gone with a lighter shade of brown, similar to what we saw Detroit do with their Centennial jersey this season, I feel like this jersey would have looked a little bit better. And if the rest of the gear was a different shade of brown, this jersey probably ends up in number one here. But because that shade of brown is really, really dark, I feel like it just makes it look a little bit muddy and kind of gives it a little bit of a camouflage feeling a little bit. But that is the entire uniform. Just looking at the jersey, this is one of my favorite St. Pat's jerseys that Toronto has done. And that takes us to number one, where I have the St. Pat's replica jersey from 2019 to 2023. Now, it should be mentioned that when Toronto did first bring back the St. Pat's jersey, it was in the 2017 season, which was obviously still run by Reebok. And I will say, I love the Reebok version of this jersey a lot more than I do the Adidas one. Now, I realize that does sound kind of goofy in saying that because they are the exact same jersey, obviously just different cuts from Reebok to Adidas. But I just think the collar on the Reebok one just works so much better with the throwback style jersey than the Adidas Fanatic style does. I will say, Adidas started to figure out the throwback style, and Fanatic so far, I think, has done also a pretty good job with the throwback style jerseys, but Reebok hit them almost every time. Now, these jerseys were replicas of the St. Pat's jerseys from 1922 to 1925. And again, it all just works for me. I think the logo on the front, I think, is really, really nice. It doesn't get lost at all in the jersey, kind of like what I just talked about with the 2002 version, where that logo does kind of get lost a little bit in that white stripe. This logo doesn't get lost at all. I also love the vintage looking numbers on the backs and sleeves, and I love that green collar that really kind of ties it all together. And I feel like that's something that's missing from the current version of the St. Pat's jersey that we have. And like I talked about with the current version of the St. Pat's jersey, the green helmets kind of help tie everything together. I feel like the green helmets on this one may have looked a little bit goofy because of the green collar. If that green collar wasn't there, I feel like you would have the same kind of issue that I have, at least with the current version. But when it comes to this jersey, again, just nothing looks out of place, nothing looks too empty. It all just fits together so nicely. So, a quick little ranking video for you guys to kick off your week. I hope you had a very, very fun and safe St. Patrick's Day weekend. I hope you have a fantastic St. Patrick's Day tomorrow as well. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. And while you're down there, swing by the description and click the Linktree link. That is the only link in the description for a reason. That is because it will take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel. Right now, we are only on Instagram and X, and right now, the Instagram page does get a little more tender love and care because that is how this entire page started in the first place. And I will say, I am still trying to work on getting a TikTok page up and running as well. So with all that said and done, that is going to do it for this video here. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. Again, both are free, both really help out the channel a lot. And if you have made it to this point of the video, I want to say thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch these videos here because it genuinely does mean the world to me. And as always, stay tuned for more hockey and jersey content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.